Yo, what is going on today, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic. Today's video is going to be more oriented to the intermediate style of Smite. There's going to be the beginner level players that don't really understand anything and they need really basic information. And then there's the advanced level players that have, you know, really deep guides, meta stuff, builds, min-maxing, stuff like that. And somebody messaged me and actually kind of put my mind into this where there's not like that middle level of Smite information. It's either super knowledge based or zero knowledge based, and there's not really anything in the middle. So I'm going to try and talk about as much stuff in the middle as possible and just go over as many things and talk about a bunch of the Guardians and kind of the style, what they do, good gods they can play around, stuff like that. So that's going to be this video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's just jump right in. So when I'm talking about like that intermediate style, when he messaged me, he said that there's two types of videos so far. There's basically beginner gods, play these 2-3 gods, get used to them and understand them. And then there's the far style, which is this is the meta, play these. In the middle is actually where you can learn a lot, where it's what does this god do? When do you want to play it? And what do you want to play it with? And that's kind of like what I'm going to go through and just go through all the gods and talk about that. And then I'm also, before that, going to talk about 3 different words and explain them and what they mean and kind of when to do them. So starting with number 1, dive. This is for more solo-esque Guardians. It is when you are diving the enemy team, their backline. You're not diving a support or a warrior unless they're full damage. But you want to be diving somebody that you can kill. It can be the assassin. It can be the mage. It can be the hunter. It can be, if there is a full damage Guardian or warrior, it can be anyone that's full damage, anyone that you just think you can kill or you can get low enough that your team can clean up. So diving is a type of style. And it can be one person's diving. So you could have like a 4 backline, 1 dive. You could have 3 backline, 2 dive. You could have 4 dive, 1 backline, stuff like that. And you can even have like perma dive comp, all 5 dive. So that's what diving is. The next word is backline. Backline is your squishies. It is frontline is the think of like an NBA team. Frontline is the center, the power forward. They are the big guys that try to give spacing to the little guys, whether it's engaging, whether it's peeling, setup, whatever it is. Backliners are the ones that are going to be doing damage. They're the ones that are usually the focus in team fights because they want to be killed. It's your mages, your ADCs, and sometimes, depending on the assassin, it can be an assassin. Like Suki's almost a backline assassin until he actually ults in because he just plays for poke. But that's what backline is a little bit more. And then the last word is peeling. This one should be a little bit more understood. Peeling is just helping your teammates get out. So if you peel your ADC, you can shield them, you can give them protections, you can body block, you can CC somebody off of him, you can heal them. Those are different types of peeling. And so peeling or a peel style is just helping out your backline, keeping them alive and allowing them to cast. And then one more thing I want to touch on before actually jumping into all the gods is rotations. It's really hard to describe when to rotate because it is something that is changing every single game. But how I like to describe it is you never have to rotate if you perma win 2v2. So if you're playing, my favorite reference to this one is Afro on Her that Mike and Coast like to play in SPL. Afro on Her is a very strong 2v2, especially in early mid game because they have perma sustain, they have perma mana, they have one-shot potential, they have CC, they have kite ability, they have survivability. So they can almost always win 2v2s, and they can always be grouped pushing down that wave, or that lane, as long as they can get deep wards out. A situation where you'd want to rotate out is if you're losing that 2v2, or somebody on the other side of the map, whether solo, whether mid, is losing so hard that you have to go help them out, or they're winning so hard that you have to go help them just to make sure that you're there. So if something does go wrong, it can be the 3v3, 3v4, whatever, instead of a 2v3, 2v4. But rotations all just goes on where are you strong or where do you need to defend. There's more offensive style rotations and then there's more defensive styles. Khepri can be an offensive style rotation, but he's mostly a god that wants to follow the enemy support. Same with Ganesh. But offensive ones are like Sobek, who can make a play. Bacchus, who can make a play. Terra can even make a play or play a little bit more defensive. So there's different like styles of rotations. There's more follow the enemy support styles, and then there's the more be the one solo walking over and try to make a play. Now that we got some keywords out of the way, I want to talk about the gods and what kind of style they are. It kind of wraps around what their starter is. So Ares is a more offensive style. He's a more dive style, more setup style. He is going to be building Sentinel's War Flag, and he's going to be trying to get into the enemy backline or the enemy frontline / assassin and just trying to pull relics or poke them down. That is his entire style. Ardio's the same way, except she is more all-in, where she wants to dash in, spam abilities, CC the enemies, try to pull relics. That's her entire gameplay gimmick. Athena is a engage peeler kind of, because all she does is she dash taunts and then she turns to her backline and ults onto who's ever getting gone on. And if she has nobody on her backline getting gone on and you're actually just dominating the fight, you can ult onto your assassin to dive even farther. So she's a little bit of 50-50. She can play both, but she does primarily work as just an engage tool. Atlas, kind of both. He can play peel and he can play dive. I think he's slightly better as a dive character than a peel character. He has power reduction, he has prot reduction, he has good damage, good CC, and you can kind of work in him. You can work him into like a blink character. And that's how I would play him. Bacchus, Kabrakan, Serb, I'll talk about all three of these. They're all dive characters. They all want to kind of just blink into the back line, force relics, pull beads, pull Aegis, do damage as much as they can. Kabrakan, I think, has a slightly different style, and I think Serb kind of has it too, where you can play to just kill the enemy frontline. So Kabrakan, if you have your 2 fully stacked, you stun them, and then you proc your 1, you stun them again, and it's like a 2.5 second stun, undrable because of the 1. And then Serb almost has that, but his 2 is a shred of protections, and then his 1 is a stun. So if you hit the 2 into the 1, you can kind of poke frontliners really easy. Charon is a neutral type of style god where he wants to play both front to back, kind of like Atlas, but he's not all-inning like Atlas ever would. He wants to kind of poke frontliners and just kind of mess around and just try to win some trades, because he's very hard to trade into because he's got a shield, he's got an auto attack reduction, he's got a silence, he's got a root, and he can just kind of dash out of danger if it becomes bad. So he's kind of both, but he works both ways too, where he can dive with you or he can peel. We're not going to talk about Cthulhu or Yorm. Fafnir is a frontline killer. He is more of a backline god, but he kills frontliners. So you hammer the frontliner and you poke them, or you transform into dragon and then you all in the frontliner and you try to kill him. Ganesh is a backline peeler with 1 offensive engage tool. Well, engage. His ult, you just kind of drop it and that kind of starts the fight, or that is the fight's already started and you need to help your back or your divers dive. You drop ult and then you just turn and peel with the base 3 kit abilities of your kit. Geb has 2 different styles, where one is a full engage into turn to help the backline, which blink allows, and then he's got the full backline, which he just ult whoever dives in or knocks up whoever dives in and just CCs them and Geb shields. Khepri is probably the most true backliner. All 4 of his tools are very good with backliners. They can help frontliners though, so he's more of a defensive peeler. Kumba at his peak is very good into melee auto attackers, so Kali, Baka, Osiris, Bellona, and he plays to peel against those characters better than anyone else. The problem is, even at that, you'd probably just rather have like a Khepri or something, but that's kind of his best scenario area. He does have like a secondary scenario where you can just blink in and mez to start fights, but I think that's just worse. I think there's a lot more gods you'd prefer to have. Kuzumbo is a full diver. Never peel with Kuzumbo. Your job should be to kill somebody because he does have kill potential unlike almost any other guardian in the game. Maui is a frontline killer, or a kind of like a pick style god, where if you know somebody on the enemy team doesn't have beads, you can just throw out an ult, and if you hit them and they don't have a way to immune it or get away from it, you just kind of kill them for free. His other thing is just pulling in an enemy support and just poking them. He's got a good amount of safety and he's got some good peel tools, but he's kind of like a neutral god like Charon. He just doesn't want to trade neutral against a lot of neutral gods because his neutral isn't that strong like Charon's, but it is okay. Sobek is a frontline killer. You pluck the frontliner, you kill them. The only thing you have to be worried about is, will the frontliner kill my backline if I pluck them? If yes, don't pluck. Sylvanas currently is a really good backline peeler. Healing, protections, good CC, prot shred, knock up. So everything is very good for a peel. Yes, you can play like a blink style where you engage, but I think that's just a lot worse. Terra is in the current meta, I think she slightly dives better than she peels, but she's still a very, very good peeling god. She plays both very well. I think Onk just kind of makes it really hard to play with backliners with Terra when a lot of your kit relies on healing in the ult. Xing Chen is a full dive. Period. Don't try to peel with him really ever. Yamoja is a healer with decent setup, so she can kind of look for fights, look for threes, kind of poke frontliners, trade, and then ult. But a lot of it comes down to late game. She just wants to spam 2s or spam 3s for her allies. And then lastly, Ymir is a frontline killer, and he's probably one of the best at it because you don't put the enemy support or enemy frontliner out of position like Sobek does. You just walk at them, freeze them, or walk at them, wall them, and your team just has free just walloping on them. And then if you do get into a spot where maybe you're going to be taking a little bit too much damage, you just drop ult and you trade pretty well back into them, and then you also reduce their damage dealt. But yeah, that is a little bit more of an intermediate guide and walkthrough with support. I hope this video helps you guys a little bit, because I know he is right that there's not a ton of stuff in the middle. So I hope this helps. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you guys again next time. Peace.